Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful Thursday morning, and guess what we're gonna do today? Saturn in the fifth house, kiddies. Yes, Saturn in the fifth house. So, what happens when Saturn is in your fifth house in your birth horoscope? Well, what is fifth house? I think I've said it over and again, but I can still say it over and over again. Fifth house is a house of fun, entertainment, like playing, sports, creativity, art. It's also the house of your education, academic education. It's a house of your children to see how many and if you will have children. Okay, it's a house of political talks, political discussion, political positions. Okay, because it's the original house of the sun, and the sun is known as the government. So that's why politics come into play in this fifth house. Fifth house is a house of your speculative business, meaning stock market, gambling, uh, even entertainment business like cinema, acting, performing, because it's all speculative business because you do not know how much return you're going to get. It's not like a set amount all the time. Okay. And this is also known as one of the trikona houses because the first, fifth, and ninth house is the triangle. It's known as a trikona house. Okay, while first house also is a part of the Kendra. So here Saturn comes in, and Saturn is a discipline. Saturn means discipline, restriction, law and order, boundaries, dark, dullness, dryness, cold. I don't want to make it sound any more miserable than it already is, but you get the point. Okay, so when Saturn comes here, Saturn is actually very uncomfortable here because first of all, it's the original house of the sun. Like, remember when I did sun in the 11th house, which is the house of Saturn, and sun is kind of not comfortable there? Here Saturn is not comfortable. Okay, and so what happens is Saturn brings a lot of restrictiveness, kind of dullness, and discipline in your fun life. So here, a child with this Saturn in the fifth house will feel really awkward about having fun. They would rather get into political discussions. They would rather be disciplined about how much fun they should have or how much creativity they should bring into their own lives than, somebody else who might just blossom in terms of creativity. So here Saturn kind of controls that. This person becomes very much about studies, very much about, disciplined about how much they need to learn, how much homework they need to do. And these people usually want to get into mature conversation. The fun for them is to talk about important issues in life. And these are the people who kind of get along with their older relatives more than younger relatives. They always get along with their uncles and aunts more than their cousin, because Saturn brings a lot of maturity here. He brings a lot of reality into play. He makes them face the reality of fun, because fun really is kind of an illusion, and Saturn kind of puts his reality there. He's like, no, this is really not as much as fun as you think. So he brings a lot of responsibility into academic learning, into fun and creativity and children, which becomes a responsibility for these guys. Now here's the thing about fifth house and creativity. The only time when Saturn perseveres in terms of providing creativity to the native is when either Saturn is aspecting Venus or Saturn is sitting with Venus, and Venus and Saturn are in a mutual aspect. That means if Venus is in the 11th house, Saturn is in the fifth house, because remember what happens. Anytime Saturn aspects Venus, he makes a person really creative, naturally creative. So here, Saturn can bring creativity. When Saturn is excelled, okay, Saturn will bring creativity because he's a sign of Venus. He has transformed himself into, he's setting the domain of Venus. Okay, and the one time when, and the only time when Saturn feels comfortable here, even when he's in his own sign and excelled, is when he's sitting with his friends, Mercury and Venus. So anytime Saturn sits with Mercury and Venus in the fifth house, he will give a lot of positive results, because it's like, let's say you are in a vacation home somewhere you're not comfortable, but suddenly your two friends show up. You want to enjoy life now. You want to have fun because, hey, your friends are here, no longer bored and isolated. So when this happens, then the creativity blossoms. Then, this person can be a very good performing artist. And here, if Saturn becomes a performing artist, he'll be one of those dark characters. You know, they love playing the dark side of life. They love playing that vampire. They love playing that depressed, manic depressive serial killer who's just writing a novel at the same time he's killing people. You know, those kind of things. No, I'm not that. Okay. So here, that's what happens. Academic learning becomes very disciplined. In terms of academic learning, it is very good, but remember, it could block your education. It could restrict your education. You may not graduate on time, okay? And because of the fact, wherever Saturn sits or aspects, he's going to restrict those things. Now, if it's excelled, okay, it's not going to restrict it as much. But let's say if Saturn here is with Venus, Venus wants to have fun. Venus wants to find enjoyment in things, okay? And Saturn already is trying to restrict certain things. So when House of Academics become fun and enjoyment, then they don't really care about graduating as much. They just want to learn. Learning becomes a fun for them. They don't care about those status quo, okay? Now here's Saturn throws his aspect on the 7th house, 11th house, and 2nd house, meaning that from here, marriage will be delayed. And it'll be much better if you got married after the age of 32, between 32 and 38. If you got married, it'll be a lot better if you got married early. Any legal business and any sort of business partnership, it will be a lot better if it happened late. You know, even if it's excelled, it's better to do things late. Network and social circle and gains could be restricted unless Saturn is excelled. And especially if Saturn is with his friends Mercury and Venus, that's when gains are really happy, because Saturn is now happy looking at the 11th house. Okay, he doesn't want to be isolated because 5th house he's not comfortable. Okay, so he's going to restrict gains till midlife. Saturn in the 2nd house, the family environment, speech, okay, your intake of food. He can restrict your speech, meaning you will be kind of shy. You will not speak too much. And when you speak, you will only speak about important things, and you will only speak about things that matter in real world. Okay, you may not have too much help from the family, and you may feel you are very being restrictive in your life, especially in childhood. You will have a lot of responsibility towards your family. Now, if it's excelled, it'll be balanced. Okay. Now, Saturn in the 5th house, remember, 5th house represents children as well. So children will be delayed. It won't be denied, it'll be delayed. And it's better to have children in your 30s with this position than early. If you have children early with this position, you're going to feel a lot of burden and responsibility towards children because you won't be as mature. Okay. And this is where your relationship with the children is going to be very much of a responsibility and, just a very bleak and gloomy situation and environment. But if you have children late, like in your 30s, you will then be mature enough to actually enjoy having children. These people are very disciplined and loyal towards children. So don't get that wrong either. But if you have children late, it's even better. So Saturn is only helping you by giving you late children here. Say, look, I'm here. I'm sitting here. Okay, it's better to get everything late than early. But early things come if Saturn is, let's say, excelled. And he's sitting with Venus himself. Venus is looking at Saturn. That's when things accelerate in your life. Okay. So guys, this was my analysis of Saturn in the 5th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above because I could be picking up your planet next in through houses. And if you want to know where your planets are placed with every other aspect, check out the link below. Check out my book there, Astrology at the Speed of Light. And when you get the book, I will send you the link to look at your own chart and your true horoscope so you can know yourself. And just make sure you follow the directions at the link below. Otherwise, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.